What's up, everybody? I'm Jeremy Siskin. I am the author of a bunch of wonderful books: Jazz Piano Fundamentals, Playing Solo Jazz Piano, and the new Spanish edition, Tocando Solo Jazz Piano. And I wanted to share with you an improvisation game or exercise, whatever you want to call it, that I do in my practice, but it's also something that I do on stage quite a bit, because it's something that gets me from improvising, not really thinking about it, just moving my hand around, playing things that I've practiced, to playing things that are really conscious and really listening to myself. So this is one, I don't have any fancy visuals or special effects, but I want to run you through some concepts. Actually, you know what? Let's do a fancy visual or something. I'm improvising right now. I don't know, it's a game, but I'm improvising on this video. So the general concept of this game is that you're going to start your new phrase from the place where you ended your last phrase. So start a new phrase from the end of last phrase. Wow, this is really sloppy writing. This YouTube video is going terribly so far. So the first way that I would do this is to take just the very last note of your previous phrase and use that as the first note of your next phrase. Let me demonstrate. I'll demonstrate on a blues in F. I think you guys can see the keyboard big enough. So, okay, so I ended now on this F natural. And here, you can see my great technique on my pinky. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm gonna start my next phrase. I ended on a C natural. I ended on an A flat. I ended on a D. And whatever happens in the rest of the phrase, could be totally different. On the D here. I ended on that D again. I ended on a G. Ended on that E flat. Notice, so I'm on a B flat 7 now. I ended on an E flat. It's not a chord tone, but that's not going to stop me. I just need to resolve it into a chord tone. Right? As long as I resolve it to that D, it sounds fine. Or I'm on this low A flat now. Again, that's not a chord tone. It is in the blues scale. I'm going lower and lower. A few things for me. The first thing is it just gets me thinking about what I'm doing, and not thinking in a super intellectual way, but it gets me really paying attention to how I'm playing. I could play an F blues and I could talk to you and it would just be a bunch of notes, pretty good notes, right? But it's not really meaning anything. There's no intention behind it. It's something I've played before, I would imagine, since it's just in my subconscious. So the first thing this does for me is that as I do this, it makes me conscious of what I'm playing. It makes me pay attention. It makes me listen, because now I've got a little game to play. Okay. And then the second thing that it does is it makes me really conscious of my phrase beginnings and endings. If I start ending every phrase on F, then I might kind of say to myself, well, that's pretty boring. Let's challenge myself. Let's end a phrase on G. Right? Let's put myself in a more difficult position for the next phrase, right? And it also gets me thinking am I ending my phrases long or short? Because I'm really listening and watching. And then I do find that as I do this game, and it's kind of a side effect, I start leaving more space. Because as it draws the attention to the beginnings and endings of my phrases, it draws attention to how they connect, right? Are they coming right after another? Are they actually phrases, or is it one long string? And I tend to, kind of plan for, okay, I know I need to come in on this G, so I'm gonna wait and listen for something and then go. So to me, this has all of these kind of awesome side effects that I really like. So that would be step one. It would be just the last note of, let's say, phrase 1 equals the first note of phrase 2. Now, if you've watched my videos and you know me, you know that I'm just like obsessive and love taking exercises further than they should go. So I'm gonna give you some variations on this. And the first one I think is hopefully not too challenging, which is at the last note of phrase 1, you're going to make it an octave away for first note of phrase 2. Octave away for first note of phrase 2. So could go up or down, but if I end a phrase, oh God, the production quality on this is just embarrassing. Well, not that you can like read that anyway, but it says the last note of phrase 1 goes an octave away for the first note of phrase 2. Yeah, beautiful penmanship. Okay, so if I end a phrase on this C here, I could start the next phrase on this C or on this C. So it's a way of moving yourself around on the keyboard a little bit more, while still focusing and having that connectivity between phrases. So it's just going to be a little different. Let's see how it works. Alright, so just to review, I'm ending on this D. I could go down to this D, which would be low, so I'm going to go up. Now I'm ending on that A flat. Now I'm ending on that F. So I'm now having kind of a conversation with myself in these two different octaves, which is kind of fun. It's my favorite kind of conversation, is a conversation with myself, because I'm a narcissist. So that's kind of a fun exercise to explore, I think. Now, what can you do from there? I'm going to attempt to write it out more clearly. For number 3, last note of phrase 1, we could say we're going to go a half step away for the first note of phrase 2. Slightly clearer. Okay, so now I'm not starting and ending on the same pitch like I've done. I'm actually starting and ending on very different pitches. So if I end with this F, then maybe I'm going to start the next phrase on an E natural. Or it could be up to a G flat. And if in your practicing you find it helpful to say it's always going to be a half step above, or it's always going to be a half step below, like by all means, do whatever helps you out. For me, it's enough to say it's going to be a half step away. So let's see how this works. So I ended on A flat. I'm going to start on an A natural. I ended on D. I'm going to start on a C sharp. I ended on C. I'm going to start on a B. I ended on F. I'm going to start on an F sharp. Sometimes forces you in some like more crunchy places, which is kind of awesome in my personal opinion. You could take that exercise further if you wanted. You could try, what if it's always a whole step away? It's a tritone away. But the other exercises that I have in mind are actually then increasing the number of notes that you repeat. So you could take the last 2 notes of phrase 1, phrase 1. Oh, God. And make them the first 2 notes of phrase 2. And this is kind of cool because it gives you a little bit more direction. So if I play... So the last 2 notes were those 2. So now I'm going to start... And I did D, D. I can't hit that D, F. Now I did A flat, D. Now it's G, F. Now it's G flat, A. B to B flat. F to A flat. A flat to B flat. Now B flat to D. So G to C. So it's such a great test for whether you're actually improvising or just playing licks. I never want to be a player who just plays licks. Licks are important, we want to learn licks, but when we're actually improvising, we want to actually be improvising. Now, probably somebody's out there thinking, well, it's a blues, it's going to work because we can repeat notes from the blues scale. So I want to make sure I demonstrate with another tune, maybe something more difficult. I haven't thought of anything beforehand, but let's go to Just Friends. I'll play it in G major. So I can do that same exercise. And notice I got kind of stuck there. Right, this is in a very different tonal center than the A minor that's coming. But I was able to kind of twist it a little bit, and that's part of the fun of this game. Okay, I've got G sharp to G. So there might be times when you want to come in sooner with your next phrase to make things work, or wait longer until the notes fit. But that's really fun. And of course, then the next step would be, you probably have guessed it already, trying with 3 notes. So the last 3 notes of phrase 1 become the first 3 notes of phrase 2. And I'll just do a little demonstration. You guys get the you get the point by now. This is all kind of the same stuff. So it's fun to try to make them different rhythmically. So the interesting thing, as you get to 3 notes, now I feel like people might hear it. Like, it's more audible that you're repeating those last 3 notes. So maybe that's cool. you know. And as you play this game like on a gig, you don't always have to do the same number of notes. You could try sometimes just the last note, sometimes repeating 2 notes. You could go beyond 3 notes to 4 notes, but it starts being really evident, I think, to anybody listening. So that's my repetition game. I hope that you liked it, and I'll just remind you that this channel is, you know, I do it because it tells people my book. So check out Tocando Solo Jazz Piano, check out Playing Solo Jazz Piano, and check out Jazz Piano Fundamentals. Hopefully we'll have some cool new books for you soon. But thanks for the likes, subscribes, comments, and I'll see you around.